was hockey on TV. I'm Yusuf Rashid, joined by Mr. Tyler Richmond. And, Tyler, we're down one team in this unprecedented COVID Cup tournament. The Carolina Hurricanes have swept the New York Rangers 3-0, winning their game yesterday 4-1.
Yep.
And we're here to talk about it because there were not a lot of surprises, more than there were a lot of shocking moments coming out of Carolina that just, I think, blew a lot of people's minds.
Yep.
Is the best way to put it. So, coming from a Rangers fan's perspective, I do want your thoughts on the game last night, on the series, on everything.
Well, I had a day to kind of cool off, and a couple drinks to cool off. I think Carolina was the better team. I mean, there's certainly no doubt about that. You look at their roster, you look at where they are as a team and a franchise, where they did what they did on trade deadline day. I think all those acquisitions at D helped, especially when you look back 4 months ago. They were down Mrazek, they were down Reimer, and they beat the Leafs with a Zamboni driver. But to avoid having a repeat of getting just slaughtered with no quote-unquote starter, they went out and acquired 3 top-level defensemen.
Three arguable first-line defensemen.
Yeah, and if not second line, like good second-line defensemen at the very least. So you have Sami Vatanen, Joel Edmondson, you have Brady Shea. I mean, that alone just helped you, let alone the group you already have. And then plus, you got guys like Aho and Svechnikov who were just playing unbelievable together. And overall, as you said, Canes played a good two-way system. And as good as Panarin is, or as good as Zibanejad is, they just couldn't get it done. The Rangers' top lines just didn't step up, and such is life. I was going to say, I think the last thing is I got to kind of go for the one thing. I would not blame goaltending on the Rangers' end. I mean, they gave up 4 goals in the last 2 games, but you can't win by scoring 1.
Right.
So, I mean, if you get 4 goals over 3 games as a team playing a very offensive-minded Canes group, you're not going to win.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and I think a lot of people underestimated the Hurricanes going into this in the first place. And we've talked about this before, but I feel like there was a huge underestimation on the Hurricanes because it was mainly the defense that everyone was talking about for the Carolina Hurricanes. Because as you mentioned, you have your Brady Shea, Sami Vatanen, Dougie Hamilton, Jacob Slavin, Brett Pesce, Joel Edmondson. Jake Gardner's on that team too.
Yeah.
Former Maple Leaf Jake Gardner and Hayden Fleury. They, they're young, but they're proving that they are an elite level defensive core in this league.
Yeah, and then you got a couple good veterans like Justin Williams out there, kind of guys who have won cups, taking you down what you're going to need to do.
Joel Edmondson's won a cup.
Yeah.
Yeah. You got a couple cup winners in there. And you have guys that are absolutely hungry because they know they can do well. And I feel like with last year's sweep from the Bruins, they've definitely learned a thing or two and improved. And this whole season, Carolina has been arguably one of the better teams in the East.
Yeah. And I mean, I think you even look at the beginning of the season, kind of free agency, like Sebastian Aho got an offer from Montreal and he decided to stay with Carolina.
Oh.
I mean,
imagine if that actually went through.
I think Price would be happy, but
I think Price would be very happy. But they're suffering when in Pittsburgh. But to recap last night's game 3 of the Carolina and New York Rangers series, Carolina wins the game 4-1. 31 shots on goal for the Hurricanes, 38 shots on goal for the New York Rangers. Both teams were 0 for 3 on the power play. Didn't even realize that part. 6 penalty minutes each team. The Rangers had 40 hits yesterday. And I feel like a lot of that, if I check the stat sheet, which I am doing right now as we speak, where is Brendan Lemieux? There he is. He only had 1 hit yesterday. Brendan Smith with 9. And then second is Jacob Trouba with 6.
Yeah.
So hard hitting yesterday trying to claw their way back.
Yep.
Understandable. I think at the end of the day, when as I was watching that game and game 1 and game 2, I think the big thing that people needed to realize was that Carolina is a team that is actually here to win. They're not here to say we're going to try what we can, and if we don't win the play-in, then we might get Alexi Lafreniere, you know. But they have definitely shown, especially with their offense, that they mean business, and they could actually make a run for the cup. They could actually do it. Seeing the way that their first line of Teravainen, Aho, and Svechnikov played, unreal. Absolutely unreal. If I remember correctly, I have it written down here somewhere. Just 1 second. That line, if my notes are correct and my numbers are correct, I have to fact check this in a second. In 3 games, those 3 combined for 15 points, 7 goals, 8 assists. 2 of them were hat tricks in those goals from Aho and Svechnikov. Throughout the whole series, the Rangers had a total of 88 shots on goal in 3 games, and they had 4 goals and 88 shots. Also, I think if anyone deserves a bit of credit for this series win, you have to give it to goaltending. Because Mrazek for game 1 and 2 played some of the best hockey he's played in a long time. I think maybe since he was on the Red Wings. And Reimer last night.
Yeah. Oh Reimer decided to eat his Wheaties and go full bore.
Reimer decided, I'm back in Toronto. It's time to play like I played in Toronto. And they got Optimus Rhyme. So, absolutely no hate to the New York Rangers goaltending. I think, Hank did what he could for the first 2 games. And Igor, there were a lot of opportunities defensively that could have been better for the Rangers, but unfortunately they left a lot of holes out for them to get through Igor.
Yeah, and honestly, I mean, Hank did what he could for not just the last 2 games, but for the past 15 years.
Yeah.
I mean, all I got from watching the Rangers yesterday was I was kind of just sat there and I just watched Igor. And, the way he plays the puck, the way he stops shots, the way he moves in the crease, It's not a bad day to be a Rangers fan to recognize that that's probably going to be your guy for the next 10 years easily.
Oh, yeah, probably. How old is he?
Igor's, I think, let me confirm this Igor Shesterkin is 24 years old.
Okay, yeah, so he's got plenty of time, hopefully.
Yes.
Yeah, I think, I said this when I had written up my East predictions, but the Rangers have they have a bulb, so to speak, for their team. They have multiple bulbs laid out in the garden. Those bulbs just need time to grow now.
Yeah.
And seeing how they played against the Carolina Hurricanes, granted, I think only 3 games is a small sample size, and we'll definitely need the next season, hopefully next year's playoffs, to really show what kind of team this is. We already see that there's a lot of promise for the next 8 to 10 years.
Yeah. I mean, yeah.
No. The other big thing I think of is, so they obviously have a second overall pick from last year's draft, Kaapo Kakko. And Kaapo Kakko was held to no points at all in this 3-game series. He had a +1 last night, so there's that. But do you think Kaapo Kakko will make a bigger presence for himself next year? Like, this year was more for him to sort of test the waters of the NHL level, because he had said, numerous times over the season and even before the season that he was NHL level ready. He was excited to hopefully make a playoff run, and that he was excited to get the experience of a full regular season. Granted, we didn't get that, and the playoffs.
Well, I mean, I think you just look at any prospect, any pick, whether it be top 5, 5th round, wherever you pick the guy. I mean, there are guys who are like 5th round players who just look great in training camp, show up and play fantastic. And maybe it's the system, maybe it's coaching, whatever it could be. I think Kakko got over here. I think he kind of expected, just trying to adapt to the speed of the game he wasn't expecting. Plus moving to a new city where he didn't really speak English all that much, and then trying to adapt to a new life in New York, trying to balance that. I know he has diabetes, so he's trying to figure out all these things in his life. I think it was a lot for him his first year. And I mean, even just these 4 months off, he spent a lot of time training. He looked like a totally different player. He made a lot of good plays this year in these little 3-game series that we got to play. Um, I mean, he looked very different than he did in the regular season. I saw a lot more promise. He was taking chances. He was battling for the puck more, and he looked faster than he did in the regular season. So, I mean, it could just be he needed to kind of feel the waters, and he could come back next year and play pretty solid, because that was the other little bit of hope I had that didn't make me fall into severe depression last night was Kaka looked okay in this series. So not getting goals or assists, but you could definitely tell he's keeping up with the game more. So
Yeah. Which I think, at the end of the day, there are obviously going to be a lot of people that will complain like, oh, this guy was supposed to be so highly touted. Why hasn't he scored a goal? Or why hasn't he gotten assists? Like, it's only his first season. Okay. The younger guys, you kind of got to give a little bit of a break to, because they're just starting to get into this whole like proper playoff mentality, because it's a whole different ball game than it is in Europe. Right.
yeah,
So
entirely.
it'll be hard to readjust to. Granted, you look at, the 3-headed monster that Carolina has, and they're anything other than unprepared. They're basically ready. They've
Yeah.
been ready. I think this has so far proved it.
Yeah.
And, whoever they play in round 1, we'll see about that. At this point, I think it might be the Bruins, because they're not doing that great.
Boston needs to figure some things out. They look sloppy.
And that's we'll get to this in a second, but I just do want to finish up this review of Carolina and the Rangers. Is where, say, I think with this Carolina team, we probably see them do a lot of damage in the playoffs, assuming that they're all healthy. And so far so good from what I've seen from the games. Everyone's pretty healthy. No one's getting injured. No one's hurt too much, so they could do some work. New York Rangers, I feel like if they want to get back to the kind of play they were at the last time they made a deep run at the Stanley Cup, which was 2014.
Yeah, 14 doesn't make the finals.
Yep, 14 was on the finals. That's right. I remember that night.
Thanks, I do too.
Oh yeah, I bet you do. They're definitely going to need to have a better fundamental understanding of the entire game with all their younger players, and I don't know if I want to say a veteran, like a well-oiled veteran presence in the team. But I mean, like, how old is Zibanejad?
So I mean, let's make this pretty easy for you.
Okay.
Minus Hank, the oldest guy on the team, is I'm pretty sure Mark Stahl at the ripe old age of 33.
I completely forgot any of the Stahl brothers are playing, which is funny because I think isn't Jordan captain of the Hurricanes now?
Yeah, and he played pretty well.
Yeah. I keep thinking Justin Williams is still captain of the Hurricanes.
I mean, he basically is.
Yeah, he's that true. Like, no hurt to the Stahl brothers. They're all great. Thunder Bay, Ontario. Woohoo! I'm not from Thunder Bay, but that's far away from me. Justin Williams, that one guy. Like, no matter what team he's been on, he's always had that veteran presence. Whether he was on the Kings, whether he was here with the Hurricanes, or wasn't he on the Capitals for their cup winning run?
I don't think he was there for the cup run. He might have been. I don't remember.
I'm gonna double check these things because I always want to make sure that my facts are right. But the thing is, they have someone like Justin Williams who has had this long journey through the NHL, and no, he was not.
Yeah, okay. I didn't think he was, but yeah.
But he was on the 06 Hurricanes run.
Yeah.
So there was that.
So I will say this. So to your point, yeah, Mark Stahl is 33 years old.
Yeah.
Brendan Smith is the second oldest at 31. The oldest forward is 29, and that's Kreider.
Chris Kreider is only 29? I thought he was older than that.
Nope. So, and then if you look at the Rangers' top defensive pairing, which was Ryan Lindgren and Adam Fox, both of them are 22.
That's fun. But Adam Fox, like, again, age, it'll definitely play a big role later because they have time to grow.
Yeah.
So yeah, I think like I definitely will say there's a lot of promise in the Rangers organization. They've done a great job with the rebuild.
They honestly have. And I mean,
Yeah.
that's kind of like me and my good friend were talking about this, and they shouldn't have. If the season ended when it did, we wouldn't have been in the playoffs.
Right.
Like, so as much as I'm upset about losing in the play-in round, I mean, like, all it does is give the young guys a taste of, oh, this is what I need to be looking for the next 1 to 3 years. Like, if we want to make a cup run the next 1 to 3 years, whether it's to get Hank a cup or just be a young team and go for kind of do what the Canes are doing and just go upset some people. I mean, like, with Ryan Lindgren, Adam Fox, you got Keandre Miller coming up.
Yep.
I mean, you got a lot of good young guys. You got a lot of good young forward prospects. You got a shot at the first overall pick. I mean,
yeah,
you got a lot to look forward to. And then you got Igor Shesterkin. Once again, he went 10-2 his first 12 games in the NHL. That is extraordinary, especially when you start talking about the team he had in front of him.
Mm-hmm.
And you got a guy like Hank who was having a losing season with that group. So, I mean, it's one of those things where a lot of positives to look forward to. And if you're a Carolina Hurricanes fan, I mean, this is going to be a good year for you. I honestly think that you're probably going to, now that the series is over, my bias is kind of gone. Yeah, I think the Canes are honestly a very good team. They got just an unlimited supply of defensemen at this point. Someone gets hurt, they will find.
No.
I mean, I'm just going to read you the defense list real quick for those of you who don't have it. Let's see. Where did it go? Let's see. On their roster at the current moment, Dougie Hamilton, Jacob Slavin, Brady Shea, Jake Gardner, Joel Edmondson, Sammy Vatanen, Trevor Van Riemsdyk, Hayden Fleury.
That's absurd. That is a legitimately absurd defensive core.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Now, granted, I was going to say, granted, 4 of them are free agents at the end of the year, but that's a whole other conversation for a later date.
Yeah. But, you know, at the end of the day, if you can win a cup out of it, I'm sure they're getting reset. Wait, which 4 are free agents?
Joel Edmondson, unrestricted free agent. Sammy Vatanen, unrestricted free agent. Trevor Van Riemsdyk, unrestricted free agent. Hayden Fleury, restricted free agent. Plus, they got to sign Warren Fogle and Justin Williams.
Yeah,
are free agents as well.
Williams, I think he's going to be done soon.
I mean, he still looks good.
He does. Like, you know, people always talk about how Yager, even in his later years when he was jumping around teams, was still looking good. But Justin Williams looks pretty good for his age.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, and he's still Mr. Game 7. That doesn't change.
Yeah.
You need a man in the playoffs to step up. You might as well have him do it.
Absolutely.
Yeah. I think, you know, Carolina definitely – this year will be a good year for them. If not, you know, regardless of what round they go out of, hopefully not the first. I would assume not. But
once again, seeding is all that matters at this point.
Yeah.
I mean, of the seeding that happened in the play-in round, the one team I literally was like, I don't want to play was Carolina, and well,
yeah. Well, we'll see how everything else works out. We still have, you know, every other series left.
Exactly.
Because you guys were the only one finished first. So
yeah, you know, I like early.
Yeah. So we'll see how that goes. Now, seeding is something you bring up and something I want to talk about right now.